Good morning. The old man here. December 21st, 2024. Couple things I wanted to cover that kind of left off last video on glint. Another reason I think it's very important, especially across many countries across the world, or at least something like this, is to be able to move your wealth from country to country if you need to bug out. You may live in a place where you've never had to do that before. But the world is shaping up to be a pretty chaotic place. I think in many cases that might become very necessary. I've heard videos lately of people that have got friends in Canada, wealthy friends in Canada, working hard on getting the hell out. And that's just, just our neighbors to the north. I have no idea what's going on in many other countries. I'm sure wealthy people are evaluating where they're at and where they're going. But even for some of us, we've seen an exodus of states like California to Texas and Florida, and that was a great migration, and I think that that will continue. Whether they keep packing into Texas and Florida or not, I don't know, but they'll have to go somewhere. That state is California is becoming more and more tyrannical every day, until it just collapses. So we'll see when that happens, and then see how everything shakes out in that state. But in the future, actually going back a little bit, quite a few people have talked about, not so much since Trump got elected, but prior to that, they talked about civil war in the United States, of which I thought was kind of crazy, and what would it look like. Last time we had it defined at North and South. Now we don't have that. There is no obvious enemy, of which that was all a crock of shit too, don't get me wrong, but they were able to divide the country and cover up a lot of the shit that was going on. So this time, how would that look? I don't see it. However, what I do see is states like California that are ultra blue, and other states that like Illinois, Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, some places, and even Michigan. Honestly, we still got this wench in Lansing, of which I know she stole that position as well, after locking everybody down for 2.5, 3 years. By the time the pandemic was, pretty much over and started to open up again, it was to the point where everybody hated her. And then a year and a half later, they voted her in again. Bullshit. Just like Biden getting in. That was bullshit. But at any rate, if we don't manage to get rid of the progressives in our state, I'm not going anywhere. I'm digging my heels in. I'm a stubborn motherfucker. I'll make their life so goddamn miserable they won't know what hit them. But there's going to be a lot of people that want to get out of the state. I remember back in the 80s, they were shutting down industry, and just as I was graduating, they were shutting down industry left and right in Michigan, and it was quite often said, and most people, even then, were going to Texas. Texas was building a lot back in the early 80s, and all the guys in the trade were going to fucking Texas. And it was quite often said amongst the guys in the trade, hey, the last one out of Michigan, turn out the lights. And Michigan hasn't been the same since. I mean, yeah, we still got a lot of auto industry, but we lost so much other industry, it's ridiculous. And even the auto industry isn't nowhere near what it used to be. So it's another good reason to, I believe, have something like glint, even if it's just a small position. But at some point, if you need to get, you might want to keep your gold, but your silver is going to be a pain in the ass to move. If you got a decent stack, and glint might be a way to still own silver and be able to take it with you. And as far as bugging out to another country, you're always going to have your phone and your glints on your phone. They're not even going to think to look for what you've got on your phone. So, you can take your wealth with you on your phone. And again, it's a Discover card. You can spend that money anywhere. Anywhere not Discover, god dang it, it's MasterCard. But you can spend that money anywhere anywhere in the country that takes MasterCard, or anywhere in the world that takes MasterCard. So, I think it's a good play. The one thing I've noticed, a couple things. Number one, we're starting to see economies across the world collapse. We're starting to see governments across the world collapse. The lack of confidence in the French government. They're doing another election, if you will, whatever they want to call it over there. Britain's going to do the same thing. They've had a vote of no confidence on their leaders. Canada's doing the same thing. They're going to out Trudeau, I believe, before too long. But I was listening to an interview with Rick Rule that I think they did a couple days ago, but put out yesterday. He knows a lot more about what's going on in Canada than I do, but one of the reasons is he's a mining guy, and of course he's got a lot of interest in Canada, a lot of gold and silver mines in Canada, so he's got his ear to what's going on up there for sure. And he was saying the guy that's coming in is every bit as progressive as Trudeau, although Trudeau was incompetent and didn't really know what he was doing. And it's become pretty obvious now. The next guy in line, at least according to Rick Rule, take it for what it is, and I think he's in the know. That the next guy is just as progressive, but he's competent. He knows what he's doing. He's connected. So I think Canada's in for a really good shakeup. Once them idiots get a hold, they'll be looking at CDBC for sure. Next thing I've noticed, for a long time, really, anytime I read the comments, and I read the comments on a lot of videos just to see what the sentiment is, and the comments been, silver's going nowhere. It's been 50 twice, and here we are at 30, and it's never going to have. You're going to have to live 2 lifetimes. You're going to have to be another 50 years before we see silver, hit 50 again, no longer go anywhere else. Well, one thing to consider is the fiat dollar Ponzi scheme is coming to an end. And how do I know that? Well, in 2019, April 1st of 2019, in fact, gold was declared a tier 1 asset. In other words, banks, central banks, whatever, across the world could then carry on their balance sheet physical gold. And, how would they do that? Well, the bank's not just going to have gold in their vaults, no. But they would use somebody like Brinks across the world and store their gold in those Brinks accounts, which means they've all seen the handwriting on the wall. That's why it was changed. The BIS changed it to tier one assets so that these banks could start stacking gold and basically de-dollarizing across the world, get out of the bond. So many, the U.S. savings bond, that is, so many, like I said, they all see the handwriting on the wall that the fiat Ponzi scheme is coming to an end. We'll see that time and time again over the next few weeks even. I think last week or the last 2 weeks, we had Korea's currency fall in half. You start to see things like the lack of confidence in France's and France, England, and Canada's government, and changing of governments. That's pretty significant. Those are significant countries. Those aren't third world countries that are changing. That these are significant, wealthy, if you will, countries, and they're making a big change. So I think, well, actually, we made a big change as well, just not too many weeks ago. So we're just waiting for Trump to get in. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop still. The thing is, let's talk about stocks for a minute. Stocks just keep going up, and a lot of people are not buying gold and silver. They're buying stocks. Look, they're on their way up, blah, 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 blah. And the thing we got to remember is that they're at like 40-year all-time highs. The people that bought in at $30 silver or $50 silver back in the day, whether that's 2011 or 1980, 81, they bought in at $50 silver and they got burned and they don't want to do silver again. Well, I don't blame them. But anybody that doesn't think silver is going anywhere, fine. You need to concentrate on gold. But there's no doubt that the fiat currencies across the world are coming to an end. It's obvious, the handwriting's on the wall. But anybody that bought into that $50 silver back in the day, it was all about the fear of missing out. They thought, at that time, that the dollar was going to collapse. And you could say, well, look, here we are again. Well, yeah, but the big difference is the whole goddamn world is going that way. It's not just the U.S. dollar. If it was only one currency or two currencies, that'd be one thing. And they can bandage it up. They can, cover it up. You could have a bank or two collapse and cover it up and make it go away and not make the news. But when, governments are churning and currencies are churning, and again, gold is being made a tier one asset. It's so obvious, it's ridiculous. And again, I don't blame a guy that's been burned on silver for not wanting to buy in again. I don't blame him at all. I don't blame him at all. But he can't ignore gold. And in fact, anybody over 60, you got to wonder the sanity of buying silver. In the past, it's taken a long time for silver to make any major moves. Well, I think the handwriting's on the wall. You see gold and silver moving basically up together over the last year. Both have gone up roughly 30%, maybe a little more than that, but whatever, somewhere in that neighborhood. So this time is really different. Normally, silver doesn't make a run until the end of a market cycle. And here we are at the beginning of a new market cycle, being commodities, gold and silver being the major monetary commodities. And so, they're on their way and they're moving up together. That's totally different than anything we've seen before. And if you want to talk about fear of missing out, let's look at the stocks. I've heard a few people talk to me about it and say, man, you just can't not buy, NVIDIA. It just keeps going up and up and up and up, until it don't. And same thing with the bond market. You know, the bond market's going to crash. There's no doubt about it. When the dollar crashes, and at some point it will, right now the dollar is on the rise. But again, that's because of people from other countries moving to the dollar because the dollar is the best in the basket, which will temporarily push the dollar up. But at some point, the dollar isn't, the dollar collapses right along with the rest of them. You can't hold it up anymore. It's just the faith in the dollar is going. That started by the central banks losing faith in the dollar, and therefore BIS declaring it the gold a tier 1 asset instead of U.S. savings bonds being the only tier 1 asset. Now you got two, so they got a choice. And they're selling at any time that they need to prop up their currencies. They're selling the U.S. bond and then printing money and buying gold. That's a no-brainer. We ought to see the same thing. De-dollarize as much as you can. First thing being getting rid of debt without a fixed interest rate. If you want to know where to start. I've talked to friends that didn't even know where to start. It's like, my God, I'm so confused. I don't even know where to start getting rid of debt. And, well, if your house is a fixed interest rate and your car's a fixed interest rate, and your credit card interest rate just keeps going up, get rid of that credit card. Pay down that credit card. But you also need to start prepping too, if you haven't already done it. And if you have started, you need to shore that up as well. Keep prepping, because I'm telling you, we're going to see a second and a third wave of inflation, and that might just be the beginning. They're going to have to start pumping money into the system to try and save it or make it look good. All right, well, I got plenty more to say. However, I want to keep this video a reasonable length, and I got to get to work early today, so plenty of things to do there. I'm going to do my very best to be back with another video tonight. However, things have been mighty crazy, both at work and otherwise. Got lots of things I got to sew up. So I want to say to everybody, have a great day. I'll be talking to you before Christmas. Otherwise, I was going to say Merry Christmas, but we'll talk to you before that. So have a great day. Like, share, subscribe, and please leave a comment. I really appreciate those comments. I did manage to get back to everybody, or most everybody on the last couple videos, if not everybody on the last couple videos. And I'm trying to keep up with that as well. So, all right. See you later, guys. Bye.